Okay. So what we got going on right now is I have my Digitakt MIDI connected to the SP404 MK2. MIDI out from the Digitakt going into the MIDI sync in. Let me make sure. Yeah, MIDI sync. Yeah, MIDI sync in into the SP404 MK2. And pretty much what's going on in this setup is I have MIDI channel G, MIDI track G, and MIDI track H affecting buses 3 and 4. 3 and 4 into in this SP404 MK2. And from the example, you could see by pressing fill, the way that I've set this whole thing up is when I press the fill button, it activates bus 3 and 4. Those are gonna, pressing fill is pretty much the activation. It's like the switch on in this situation. And press stop on that. Also, another good thing to know about this whole setup is it only works when the Digitakt is in play, so you have to have the Digitakt's sequencer running. You could probably see that these two buttons are the only ones flashing, and I guess I'll go over why that is right now, huh? So, figuring this whole setup out, one thing that I realized, or one conclusion that I've come to, or just the truth for me, I suppose, is I have the swing on the Digitakt at 50%, so pretty much no swing happening at all. I also have the BPM at its max. I find that when the BPM is all the way at the max, the trigger time, the trigger information, like MIDI into the 404, it happens almost instantaneously. Do another example to explain what I'm talking about. So we got this. The BPM is at 300. I'm gonna activate. We have to be playing, so we're playing. I'm gonna activate. So pretty much happens instantly when you press the fill button, because I'm activating the DJ effect looper on bus 3 or 4. But if I turn the tempo down, let's just say it's at like, I don't know if you can see that, if you can hear that, but it's not super instantaneous. See, like when I leave them. So having it all the way at 300, without knowing technically what's happening behind the scenes, it just sounds more instantaneous. Cool. So there's that. What are we talking about here? Yeah, tempo. That's why I have the tempo set at 300. The swing also affects, might as well explore that too. So the swing, make sure everything's playing. So tempo at 300, no swing. This is what it sounds like. Let's get it at like a, there you go. But if we put the swing, okay. So maybe the swing doesn't do too much. Okay. So swing, don't know if that affects it too much, but for the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna keep it at 50%, got the BPM at 300%. What else do we have going on the Digitakt that needs to be covered? So right now they are off, right? So when it is lit white, that means it's on. That's what I know. So cool, it's on. Let's go and look at what the setup looks like on the sequencer. So we're on MIDI G. The way that I have this set up is the length is 2 bars. The scale is at ×2, just so it's switching between these two states rapidly, so we can have the least amount of lag time between the fill and not filled trigger conditions. So what I have now, aside from the page settings, length is at 2, scale is at ×2. The individual triggers are as follows. So For the step 1 or trigger 1, I have everything turned on. So the way that the MIDI mapping is, and there's a MIDI implementation chart that you can look up on Roland's website for the SP404 Mark II. And I also did a video where I MIDI mapped the Fader Fox EC4 to the SP404 Mark II, and the routing is the same, if the routing will always be the same for the 404 Mark II. No different here. So bus channel 4 is always going to be for the bus 4. And then I think, let me see, channel 3 is for bus 3. So we're on channel 4. And basically I have the first step is going to be triggering the DJFX looper or bus 4. It triggers it on. And then this is going to be triggered off. So step 1 is going to be an on. It's going to send information to the SP404 saying turn on the DJFX looper. Step 2 is sending information saying turn off the DJFX looper. And then I've also set those up to have trig conditions. So whenever I am holding the fill button, that is going to activate the DJFX looper as long as the button is held down. And then whenever I'm not holding the fill button, the DJFX looper will be off. So again, we'll show that in practice. Yeah. Keep your mind on your mask, kid. Hollow form a classic. Press play, so everything's happening. So on, off. And then while it's turned on, I can affect what's happening, I haven't figured out why these don't work together in tandem, but when I take away the DJFX looper or unmute it or mute it, when it's not lit, let's say, and I hold the fill button, and then activate 16. 16 I have set as my isolator. Trig conditions, same thing. So for the first step, page value, same thing. I have the length set to 2 of the 16. I have the scale at ×2, and trig conditions, same thing. So step 1 is going to be a fill. So whenever I press the fill button, it activates the isolator in this case. And whenever I'm not pressing the fill button, it's the isolator is not activated. I think without going too much, should I? I guess I should, huh? So one cool thing that I was messing around with is trig locking effects to be on and off. So let's try to figure that out together, or I'll show you what that kind of looks like. So I have MIDI channel or MIDI track A going to channel 4, which is bus 4 on the 404, our DJFX looper, and I'm going to trig condition some steps on our sequencer. So I have the first step on, so 127 on, and trig number 3 is going to be off. So basically turning the effects looper off, and that's what it sounds like now. And then we can turn down the length to, let's say, 8. Cool. So we'll go on there. So on, off. I can copy this, paste that here. Put another. So on. I can change this value. So that's something cool that we can play around with, and then you can mute it. So as you're playing around, you can unmute MIDI channel. Mess with how many steps. Do 5 steps now. So we got these. Maybe copy. Paste. So one thing to keep in mind is as it's running, you gotta turn it off when you gotta catch it, you know? But you can turn it off. So that's what I've been doing for today. I just wanted to share that with y'all. You know, come up with some cool things. Maybe you can come up with some cool workarounds and maybe figure this out a little bit better than I did. But as far as how this is operating right now, I think it's pretty cool, man. So do some cool stuff with it, with the information at hand, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.